Well, Greg asked me, since he couldn't make it, to give this presentation for him because he is on our steering committee and we have worked with him in the past. But we'll see after I give it if I really deserve a thank you, because this is not my area of expertise. And if you have questions on it, I encourage you to contact Greg at the end, because I really cannot answer any of your questions on Earthster. But here it goes. So a quick outline of the presentation is what is the mission of Earthster. It really drives to be a global resource. So the slides will talk a little bit more about what that means, how it works in action, what we mean by turbo. I'll find out that too. And then partnership opportunities with Earthster. So Earthster believes that all companies should be able to do sustainability footprinting, no matter if you're a large company with a lot of experience in this space or just starting out, whether you're in a developed or developing country, it should be able to be used by all. Earthster believes that the whole world is better off when we can have more innovation globally, more data coming into the tools and systems used by some of the leading companies in the room today so that others can use that data. And it increases the value of the for-profit tools too. Earthster does that, and we'll see how that happens in a few slides. But part of its mission is that to achieve that is that it's free to use. There's no barrier in participation. It's an open source code, so it's really about no barrier for innovation, letting other companies use that work and build from it. And it's based on an open standard. So the organization behind Earthster is New Earth, which is a nonprofit based in the US. Its mission is sustainable development via empowering bottom-up innovation. So it's the steward of Earthster, and I think there's used to be with some other organizations, so this is the new organization of Earthster. And all revenues generated first must be applied to sustain the system, and then the mission. So to achieve these goals of transforming will require dramatic growth in the global marketplace for services. And that's what Earthster is trying to do. It's by setting up partnerships with providers of data, Earthster intends to sustain the free Earthster infrastructure over time. So that's why it works in a partnership. There's a lot of explosions here. I don't really know what that's all about, but it's a sales channel for profitable partners. So they do have a partnership structure to be able to provide its mission of free access. I think a key benefit of Earthster is that it's a web-based browser. So the next couple of slides will be a few screenshots of what it looks like, but I would encourage you to go to Earthster's website so you can see your own demo for yourself. So you don't need to download software systems and have these updates. It's really all available online, which also allows multiple people within your companies to access it. So this is the main homepage of Earthster, and it's really, I think, a key benefit is this drag and drop feature. So if you're not fluent in some of the LCA software programs or an engineer by trade, it's really a pretty easy system to build your process. So data is stored on the left, and then you use it on the right side of the screen. And you can modify data, create new data, and import and export this information with other tools you may have. And then you can also import and export data to several different tools within Earthster, so you can understand the causes and emission sources behind your footprint, where the hot spots in your footprint are, do a what-if assessment. So if you change this process or make the product twice as durable, how will that affect your overall footprint? And measure your progress over time, as Ahmed was talking about, the importance of reducing compared to your original baseline. So it's really focused on the unit process level in LCA. Typically, the production process at a single site is an example of this. So you use your product outputs and your product inputs linked to the LCA data to model your unit process within Earthster. And then you can also take into account on-site emissions and impacts not accounted by these processes. The don't ask, don't tell play here is that you can both keep the information confidential behind your firewall, but share the aggregated footprint results on the web. So it both protects the company's confidentiality concerns, but delivering on that goal of improving the quality and just the quantity of LCA information on the web. So here's another screenshot. If you can search on the left-hand side what your process, your input is, look at the available data that comes up, click it and drag it into your processes. So I think the next couple slides is how can you view the result of doing all that? So here is a contribution analysis of your LCIA. So looking at the different processes and the sums of it, what not only are your climate change impacts, but other LCA impact assessment methods. So here we have ecosystem quality, human health, resource use. I suspect there's also maybe water quality and use embedded in the tool. So beyond just product carbon footprinting, what are the other information you may need to make decisions? So this is a slide on the contribution analysis of the different products and processes within your footprint. So you can see it, again, instead of a visual form, here is a numeric percentage. And again, comparing different products across their impacts. This example is sour cream, which I think he's worked with quite a bit with Walmart. Looking at the different emissions from different sour cream types. So again, this is another way to visualize the most important inputs. And I think it's important to note that any life cycle impact assessment method can be used within Earthster. I like this view myself to show both within the first process, but also upstream, what inputs are really the largest contributors, and also the locations of them. So I like the web quite a bit, and I'm sorry, Greg can really explain this better, but I think some of the visuals by themselves are quite powerful. This one I particularly like. The example here is Walmart's Great Value dish soap. So where is the supply chain located around the world based on the data that you've inputted? So not only what are the largest emission sources, but where are they occurring? Which, as you know, is very important when you think about other life cycle impacts. And here, not only can you see the supply chain, but also where the largest impacts are interactively. So the hotspots located around the world. Here, it's climate change emissions, about where they occur. So now, with the success of Earthster 1, there will be an Earthster 2 to focus on what matters. Yes. So you learn what matters via average data at first. I think this is a really powerful tool, especially to do a screening assessment. So before you dive into your supply chain and gather all this primary data, which, as we've heard, is quite time-consuming, you can help focus your efforts by looking at average data. By doing that, you can then gather data where it matters. So taking that industry average data, you can either modify it to better match your process or input your own primary data from your processes or from suppliers. But what about for sites that you don't control? This is where generic data and company-specific data from suppliers kicks in. So Earthster includes both free data, some of the sources here being the OpenIO project of a sustainability consortium, the U.S. Lifecycle Impact Database, and others. And then if you have licenses to proprietary databases such as EcoInvent, Gabi, Data and SEMA Pro, et cetera, you can use that in Earthster as well. And as said, you can put your company-specific data in where you have it. So License What Matters deals a lot with uncertainty too. So when there's a high level of uncertainty is okay for a process and you're okay making decisions on that, free data is an easy tool to use. But when the uncertainty really matters or the process is very significant on its own right, that's where you can license for fee data. And because Earthster is a web-based platform, your suppliers can use it too, which is a great resource, so you don't have to limit the number of licenses that you have or who can access it. And then they can share the results with you. And I think that's really important to overcome some of the confidentiality issues we heard about earlier, because your supplier can input their unit process data and aggregate it for you, so you don't have to sign non-disclosure agreements and other things. So Earthster also has a validation feature. So validation requires that the input data are appropriately generic or validated supplier specific. So the validation status is part of the metadata when the results are published. So in order to publish it, it needs to be validated. And then as we talked about earlier, how to track progress over time, Earthster allows you to do that by updating what matters. So when you're able to get more specific supply chain data, you can update your footprint to reflect this. If there's a change in the production process or the efficiency, you can also update that. So we all know that we all need more, better generic data. That the models of having company A has their data that they don't share with company B within their supply chain is just not going to work if our goal is to get global LCA data out there for decision makers. So one of the main reasons to make Earthster freely available to all companies is to empower them to participate in what Earthster calls this bottom-up movement to create more and better generic data. So users can voluntarily allow their unit process information to be aggregated under confidentiality concerns to create more generic data. And this helps them benchmark themselves. Also, when 3 companies, I believe, publish LCA data on their product, and it's the same product, those can be aggregated and averaged to get another generic data point out there. And companies can be given visible credit in Earthster for contributing data and having been good corporate data citizens, because we all benefit from doing this. So Poseidon is a new offshoot of Earthster because it's really about connecting existing data networks to each other to further aggregate this information and get it out there. And I don't have much to say on that, but it looks very cool, and it's got a great name. So with that, I want to thank you for struggling with that with me on that, and I would really encourage you to contact Greg with any questions. He is a professor by training, so he's very good at delivering this lecture format, so I hope you can see it sometime in person. And he's very sorry that he couldn't be with us here today. And looking outside, I think he'll be more sorry if he could see the Alps. So thank you.
Thank you very much.